Hello there, and welcome to Module 7. This is probably the biggest module of the entire course. As you've learned in the other modules, you're working toward writing the research essay, which is the biggest part of Module 7, and it's also 20% of your grade. But the good thing is we've already been working on this in the past few modules, especially starting in Module 5, where you submitted your research proposal. And then in Module 7, you worked on the annotated bibliography. I'm sorry, Module 6, you worked on the annotated bibliography, where you went and found 3 sources from the literary databases within the GMC library. So by this point, we've taken the different steps to get you prepared for this research essay. So in addition to that, our readings have kind of switched a little bit. This is the first of 2 modules where we will be looking at some poetry. So this is usually, again, of interest to the students in the class because there's a wide variety of poems this week. And then next week we'll focus in on Langston Hughes. So let's look at a few of the things for Module 7. So we're adding to our list of literary terms that we have been studying. If you remember the very first module, we talked about, having, the base of different types of terms we could all understand and help us kind of start develop our analysis skills. So this is another set of terms to add to those literary analysis, these poetry terms. There's also a different way that we look at poetry than we do a typical prose or a short story or even a drama selection. So be sure to read how to analyze a poem, because that's what you're going to be doing for the Think and Ink for this week. And then as you wind up with your research essay, there's a few additional resources as you're writing. Again, tips about writing about literature, which is different than writing about other topics. That's what we're focused in on this course, is literary analysis. How to revise a research paper once you've gotten to a rough draft. There's some things to look for in the research paper, and then a final checklist. So let's kind of review the requirements for this module. Again, this is 20% of your grade, and this is putting all of those skills that we have learned in the other modules all together. So this is an argument essay. You are making a claim, and I want you to think about what an argument is. An argument is something that someone else could disagree with you. Otherwise, if it's just a statement, you know, today is Tuesday. There is no argument against that. It's Tuesday. Okay, but an argument means that someone is going to disagree with that claim. So you are going to support your claim about this story, about the text that you're going, about the different texts that you're going to be talking about. So you're going to have an argument. That meant that somebody else is going to say, I don't see that in this text at all. But you're going to say, I do, because here it is, the text X evidence directly from the text. And here are 3 other sources who also support what I'm trying to argue. Okay, so it can't just be a statement about one of the texts. It has to be an argument about a couple of these texts, 2 to 3 of the texts that you have developed a thoughtful argument about. So remember, back in week 5, you already did that proposal. So I've already given you feedback on your research question, the route that you're going to go, the literary theory. You've already kind of received some feedback. If you had additional questions, hopefully you've contacted me if you need additional support with that thesis. So these have to come from the literary databases within the GMC library. It's not going to be just a basic article about psychology. It's going to be something else that another expert has written about that story, and they may also talk about the psychology of it. So make sure that you're looking at that aspect of it. Please be sure to make sure that you have looked at the feedback, particularly from weeks 5 and 6 about this essay, but also from the response essays if you have struggled with MLA formatting, if you have struggled with transitions, or other types of writing that's expected in a more formal tone, please make sure that you are using that feedback. You also have free access to tutoring. The number one feedback that I get when I ask students about tutoring is they say they don't have time. And I get that. College students are busy, and I do understand that. But you want to make that part of your time frame of getting this research essay completed. That should be part of the step. It should be part of your plan as you're working through this. Another set of eyes that's going to help you fine tune that paper, and it could be between getting a C and a B, or an A and a B, not only on this assignment but also for the course, because it is 20% of your grade. All right, so here are some of this. Was also from week 5. If you remember, it talked about the different ways that you can explore the stories. Also in week 5, there was a whole list of all of the sources, the resources that we already have in the course to help you with your writing. So you want to make sure that you're using all of that. And again, please do not copy and paste the prompt into an AI generator and then copy and paste that and turn that in for your assignment, because you cannot receive credit and it will cause some damage to your overall grade. And I don't want that. You don't want that. So please, let's not do that. All right. So when you are writing about a story, you cannot rely on something that you've read several weeks ago and haven't looked at it since. Please reread those stories that you are working on. I reread these every time I teach this class, and I still find little things that maybe I've overlooked, or things that I've forgotten, or I'm thinking about it in a different context, because your brain starts thinking about things in a different way once it's exposed to it several times. So that should be the very first thing you do before you get really deep into a rough draft for this, is have you read back through those texts? Remember, I told you from the very beginning, these are short selections, so you do have time to read them again. All right, so I've already talked to you about making it arguable and that you have the research to back that up. You've come with the facts. You have a strong argument. They have to come from the literary databases. You want to kind of assume that we've already are familiar with the story. So you're not going to spend half of your essay talking about the plot of what happened. You're getting right to your argument. Okay. You want to make sure that you're following, an organized pattern. Your introduction is going to introduce the topic. It's going to have a hook that's going to get the reader engaged in what you're going to say, and it's going to end with the thesis statement in that introductory paragraph. And then every paragraph that follows that is going to refer back to that thesis. It needs to tie back to it. You are kind of setting little, like a little roadmap, and like leaving little crumbs along the way, that everything is going to tie back to that. So your thesis sets that all up. So it's no surprise when we get to body paragraph number 4, I should be able to tie that right back to the thesis. It's supporting that argument. It's supporting the thesis. Okay. You want to go back and really edit and revise your paper. I suggest reading it out loud because our brains and our typing don't always match sometimes. And sometimes as you hear it, you can hear the mistakes. Having another set of eyes. Like I said, you have free tutor. That's part of your tuition here at GMC, so you want to take advantage of that. At the very least, having somebody else just read through it to say, hey, can you see any awkward sentences? Does it make sense? Does everything flow together? Is there something I've forgotten? So just making sure that you're taking time with this because this is, the biggest assignment that we have in the class. So use the information from the previous modules and make sure that you understand what this assignment is and you get everything in. And I wish you the best of luck. And please reach out if you have any questions. I'm happy to help.